Sunday Night Football is between the Cowboys and the Vikings. Can they both lose? Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Podcast, a podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. ESPN Pick'em League gypped me one win, and so I should be number one. That's not true. I'm like 1,263rd. Grossi, and today we're going to be breaking down all the matchups and predicting the winners of every single game during Week 8 of the NFL. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. First, on the Patreon side of things, we have Dakota West, and on the YouTube, we have Dozen, but it's like Zen with an X, so it's like super clever. So a big shout and thank you to all. So last week, I won a very respectable 10-3 in predictions, making me, according to ESPN, 70-36. However, there was an additional game that had been played that I did not get credit for. What game was it? The Green Bay Packers versus the Kitty Goes Meow Cincinnati Bengals, which I hit Green Bay Packers, and I even said it in the show, so I should be 71-36, but I'm not. I mean, I am in like real life, but not in the Pick'em League, so yeah, I'm 1,263rd, which is not great. But who is doing well is Gavin, who was number one last week, is still holding on to that top spot at 82-25, repping that first place. So congratulations to you, Gavin. So let's get it started. Starting off with our Thursday night game. You got the dismantled, injured, COVID-ridden Green Bay Packers taking on the undefeated Arizona Cardinals. The Packers are a beat-up football team, but things were made even worse when DC Joe Barry tested positive for COVID. Unfortunately, so did Davante Adams, and there's still potential that he could play if it's a false positive, but he did not fly with the team today, so that's looking less and less like a possibility. And Allen Lazard, because he was unvaccinated and was a close contact, he has been pulled from the game as well. And so, yeah, the Packers are in rough shape, to say the very least. However, the Packers are undefeated without Davante Adams under Matt LaFleur, so maybe they can pull some magic. Expect some maybe a little Randall Cobb, Aaron Jones action. The Cardinals, a little bit of a scare with the Houston Texans early on, in which they were able to get after Kyler Murray and make him real uncomfortable, sacking him 4 times. But the Cardinals have the number 1 defense in football and the number 4 offense in football, and they are the only undefeated team left in football. The Cardinals are doing pretty darn well. Zach Ertz getting a TD after trading for him. That looks like it's going to be a fruitful relationship. Of course, you have Christian Kirk, AJ Green, Rondale Moore, and of course, DeAndre Hopkins, and led by Kyler Murray. That offense is lethal. They have a nice balanced running game with Chase Edmonds as well as with James Conner. And this is going to be a problem for the Green Bay Packers for them to cover. They're already so injured on defense. Hopefully Kevin King can play, but it's definitely going to be a battle. Now, I've said before that I had this feeling that it was like a few years ago when the Green Bay Packers were struggling a little bit to take on the Texans, who were rocking at the time, and the Packers went in and slapped them in the face. I don't think that this is going to be the exact case, especially with guys like Davante Adams out, but there is a little bit in me that thinks that the Green Bay Packers could actually pull this one off on a short week. Maybe they surprise people, as I know they are definitely the underdogs heading into this game, but Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to pick the Packers here. Is it homerism? You're damn right it is. And I'm just going to hope and believe that they can do it. And if not, then I hope we don't get blown out. Moving on to an NFC South matchup, you got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Panthers looked terrible last week against the Giants. Sam Darnold looked awful, getting benched against the Giants. That's a low of a low there. And Sam Darnold is going to be fighting for his job over the next few weeks. The Falcons able to pull off a last-second W against the Miami Dolphins. They actually didn't choke away a game, so that's how you know this season's going absolutely insane. Panthers are a struggling football team. They need Christian McCaffrey back real bad. They're not going to have him on Sunday. I think the Falcons' offense is looking pretty darn good, especially behind Kyle Pitts. I know Mike Davis was injured last week. Hopefully he'll be back. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Falcons to knock off the Panthers here. Maybe the Panthers can turn it around. This would be a good team to do it against. But I think the Panthers are going to continue to plunge into despair. Then you have an AFC East game in which you have the Miami Dolphins, who are a team, taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Bills coming out of their bye week after losing to the Tennessee Titans, which doesn't seem too bad considering they just smacked the crap out of the Chiefs. While the Dolphins, yeah, they're struggling on all sides. The offense is not really functioning too well. Tua, there's rumors of him going away, and the Dolphins trading for Deshaun Watson, and the defense is not looking as good, and there's injuries, and the Dolphins are just not a good team. The Bills need a bounce-back game. Their red zone offense needs to improve a little bit. I think it's going to be against the Dolphins, who just have terrible stats on both sides of the ball. I think the Bills will be able to win this one. I know it's a divisional game, so maybe things could be a little bit wonky, but the Bills should be able to win this easily. Then an intriguing matchup featuring two bad teams. You have the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Chicago Bears. The 49ers losing in a monsoon against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday night. And Jimmy G not looking so great. Elijah Mitchell was looking good on the ground, but then they kind of got away from it. And yeah, Jimmy G is not really pushing the ball down the field a whole lot, except for like that one drive. And they're a weird team to try and figure out. I know there's lots of injuries there. They're definitely missing guys like George Kittle and Raheem Mostert. Meanwhile, the Bears got absolutely annihilated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just in every facet of the game. 5 turnovers for Justin Fields. And that offensive line is just atrocious. Khalil Herbert, their running back, is pretty damn good. I like him. I think he's going to get a lot of production against this 49ers team. What this is going to come down to is, can the Bears offensive line stop the pass rush of the 49ers? And the answer is probably going to be no. However, the Bears defense is pretty darn good. I know Khalil Mack is a bit banged up, but I'm actually going to pick the Bears to win this one. I got a feeling that Justin Fields is going to have a little bit of a better game. They're going to lean on the run game a lot, and the 49ers are not really doing anything to impress me. So because of that, I am going to pick the Bears, though, just like every other Chicago Bears fan, I'm sure they'll let me down too. Then you got an AFC North battle between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers are just a weird team to try and figure out. Their defense is a little disappointing. You know, TJ Watt is being TJ Watt. He's always going to be great. Their offense, Ben Roethlisberger is a tree. And he's got mushrooms on him because he's been there for so long. Going up against the Browns, who were able to pull off the W against the Broncos, even though they are heavily injured. And this game was another one that I went back and forth with. I originally picked the Steelers, but it looks like Nick Chubb is going to play, barring any setbacks in practice. On top of that, Baker Mayfield, even though he has a torn labrum, is still looking to play. If Mayfield and Chubb are both able to play, I do like the Browns here. And so I'm going to pick the Browns, though. If those two don't play, I would unfortunately give it to the Steelers. Then another intriguing game with two bad teams. You got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Detroit Lions. The Eagles with Jalen Hurts. I think that's a good sentiment to sum up how the Eagles are doing this season. Meanwhile, the Lions, but they looked pretty good against the Rams, considering all of their faults. Dan Campbell, again, I will raise this flag. He's the coach for the Detroit Lions. They played really hard, really gritty against a better team in the LA Rams, and overall just got beat because they didn't have enough talent on the football field. I do think the Lions are going to win a game sometime this season, and I'm actually going to go out on a limb. I was able to predict the first game that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to win. I said they'd beat the Dolphins, and here, I originally had the Eagles, but I'm going to pick the Detroit Lions to get their first win at home and watch Ford Field go completely bananas. Moving on, you got an AFC South showdown between the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. The Titans coming off 2 major victories against the Bills and then the Chiefs, and it was domination against the Chiefs. Taking on the Colts, who look like they're just trying to find their way. Carson Wentz, he's up and down. For the most part, he's been acceptable, satisfactory, if you will, for the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Taylor, you definitely want to see more out of him. That defense is like okay. You want to see them step up a bit too. They look like they've regressed a little bit from last year. I like the Titans in this, even though it could go either way because it's a divisional matchup. But the Titans coming off 2 really big wins. I think they're going to continue that momentum. Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, maybe have themselves a big game. And the Titans are going to get this one. Then you got the kitty goes meow Cincinnati Bengals taking on the New Jersey Jets. The Bengals just slapped the crap out of the Ravens and did it convincingly. The Jets are not the Ravens. The Bengals are going to win. That's my analysis. Following that, you got another massacre in which you have the LA Rams going to Houston to take on the Texans. Matthew Stafford is in MVP conversations. Cooper Kupp is breaking records all over the place. Their offense is firing on all cylinders, and their defense, while regressed from last year, is still very talented. And the Texans are the Texans. They were able to hold their own against the Cardinals, so I will give them credit for that, but I don't think that they are going to have a shot at beating the LA Rams. And so the Rams will take this one. Following that, you have a game that could be a sneaky good game in the New England Patriots taking on the LA Chargers. The Chargers had a bye week last week, and it was very much needed. However, they lost their crown to Captain Finn Oakley, otherwise known as the Vegas Raiders, and they are currently sitting second in the division. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they're so hard to figure out. They're like tough on defense sometimes. Mac Jones is probably playing the best out of all the rookie QBs this year, but they just haven't put it all together. I think that this is going to be a competitive game, but the Chargers, man, they need to come out of this by swinging because they looked just anemic against the Ravens a couple of weeks ago. I think the Chargers have enough to get it done. I'll be curious to see how the Patriots defense matches up against Justin Herbert, and especially guys like Austin Eckler, but I do have the Chargers winning, but it is anybody's game. Following that, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars heading into Seattle to take on the Seahawks. This game is a difficult one to try and predict. Russell Wilson's here. It's a piece of cake. The Seahawks losing against the Saints in an ugly game. Josh Myers not able to kick some field goals. The Seahawks just don't look like a good football team right now. Geno Smith had that one big play to DK Metcalf, and then that offense just stunk it up all night. The Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence is like slowly improving week to week to week, and I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm not super confident in it, but I just don't think the Seahawks are good right now. They look deflated. I know Tom Brady would go play for them, but I'm actually going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars in a stunner to beat the Seattle Seahawks. And oh no, the Seahawks are doing poorly. A single tear rolls down my face. But then again, I'm also picking the Jaguars to win, and that almost never works out. Following that, you got the Washington football team taking on the Denver Broncos. Washington put up a pretty good show against the Green Bay Packers. Their red zone offense definitely faltered at times. They made our red zone defense actually look adequate, so that's how you know things are bad. Meanwhile, the Broncos could not beat Case Keenum and a beat-up Cleveland Browns team. A guy named Durnest ran all over them. Not a good look. There's nothing about this game that suggests the Broncos are going to be able to win. The Washington football team is also not a good team. However, their defensive line has looked better over the past few weeks. On top of that, you always got Scary Terry in there. And so because of that, Antonio Gibson being a little bit more healthy, I'm actually going to pick Washington to win this game. I'm so sorry, Brandon Perna. Moving on, you got another NFC South divisional matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. The Saints, they have Jameis Winston. They just finished an ugly Monday night game against the Seattle Seahawks in which they couldn't really get anything going. The Buccaneers just massacred the Bears. Their defense is starting to get healthy at the right time. Rob Gronkowski, Levante David, and Richard Sherman were seen in pads, so it's potential that they are going to be playing and suiting up on Sunday, and that spells big trouble for the Saints. The Saints were able to kick the ever-living crap out of the Buccaneers during the regular season last year, but that was last year, and I think that things are very, very different. I don't see Tom Brady having too much of a problem with this, and I think the Buccaneers will take care of business here. Then you got the Sunday night matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings. I have said on the record that I actually want the Vikings to win this game because I want Scooter Magruder to lose his bet against me. But the Cowboys coming off a bye and a good time too because Dak obviously had a little bit of a calf injury. The Cowboys are looking like a very good football team. Decent on defense and better than they were last year, but they're still giving up around 24 points per game, but fantastic on offense. The Cowboys look like they're doing pretty darn well. The Vikings, They're trying to put it together. Their defense at times look okay, but their offense, which I thought was going to be incredible, really does not look like itself. Kirk Cousins started off the season looking really, really good. They have so many weapons with Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook. I think it's very possible for the Vikings to win this game, and I can't even say like hope to win. I just hope the Cowboys lose. But I am going to pick the Cowboys to win because I think they're a better team. But maybe Kirk Cousins is going to cough on them or something. I don't know. Then finally, you got the New Jersey Giants taking on the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. You showed me this game at the beginning of the season. I was like, oh, it's going to be like 75-0. Now, it might just be like 34-13 the Chiefs win. The Chiefs are in a bad place. They are not looking good. Their defense is hot garbage. Their offense is struggling. Patrick Mahomes is doing too much. They have no run game whatsoever. However, the Giants, while they did pull off a victory against the Panthers, are still the Giants. I don't think they're going to be doing enough to beat Patrick Mahomes. There's just so many ways that offense can beat you. I think they get a little bit more on track this week, and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs take this. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. How do you feel about these games shaking out? How are you doing in the Pick'em League? We got almost 8,000 of you. Let me know. You know, find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.